the golden upgrade. Tonight, join us as we take a bird's eye view of America's golden age. Major transitions have been taking place that seem to line up with biblical prophecy. Join us tonight on the Midnight Ride as we explore America's golden age.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. Who is able to make war with him?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Midnight Ride. We are excited and very thankful once again to be able to be with you on the Midnight Ride. Tonight, another eye-opening, stunning broadcast as we take an even deeper dive into America's golden age. So get ready, the dive starts right now, because we are now
live. What's up, guys? Man, we're live from the Puritan Barn again, right here. You guys are here with us, and we're happy that you are. Where else is there to be on a Saturday night, right? On a 10 p.m. We're better is there to be, but you guys are here with us, and we're super grateful. Let us know where you're from in the chat and what you're up to. You don't have to tell us advanced details. We're not trying to creep on you, but we love to see where you guys are at. So, David, how's your week been, man?
It's been very, very good, very blessed. It's getting pretty exciting as we're coming down to them final steps before Conspiracy Con. It's an exciting time, and I'm just so thankful that to be here tonight. Every time I'm able to be on a platform to talk about the Word of God and to be able to be a part of Conspiracy Con, I'm very thankful. And it's just a great time to serve Jesus and exciting. So I'm a thankful person tonight. I'm just blessed.
Yeah, and for those of you that are coming to Conspiracy Con or want to, the link is in the description. It's next Saturday. The Midnight Ride is going to be a little bit earlier, but it's going to be in front of a live studio audience in Cave City, Kentucky. And there are still general admission tickets left if you guys want to come. I think it's going to be worth the ride, or however long it is for you. I don't know. Maybe depends on how far you are, but I would definitely try to be there. And hopefully you guys can be there because we're super excited about it. Also, just stay tuned this week. There's going to be a lot going on. Like, I think because of the conference, I'm going to be heading down there super early. I know David is, so we're going to have different things going on in the broadcast. I think I still have one new interview going on this week on the broadcast. And David, tell us what you guys have going on over on FOJC. And by the way, the link for FOJC is in the description of this video.
Well, Brother Brian has broadcasting lined up for all of our regular broadcast times, so there will be good material there for you to listen to while we're down at Conspiracy Con. And tomorrow night, I want to make mention at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, 7 Central Time, on our FOJC Radio Underground Church. We're going to have a special prayer-a-thon, and this will be concerning Jonah Reef, who many of you know we've talked about it several times, and we're going to be asking, where is Jonah Reef? And not just for Jonah, but for interceding in prayer for the children that are being abused and trafficked. And we're going to be bringing on a lot of our friends. There's going to be people coming on, and they're going to be leading prayer in small segments of time. And a lot of different people are going to get involved in this. We're going to be agreeing in prayer. So join us, as many of you as will, tomorrow night 7 p.m. Central on FOJC Radio, Underground Church.
Very good. Very, very good. All right. So, sorry, guys. My clicker here doesn't want to work right now for some reason or other. But tonight, this broadcast, I wanted to show you guys this picture while David was doing his introduction, because this right here tells a lot in one story. This is the Oval, or I don't know if it's the Oval Office, but this is the White House pre-Trump. This on the picture on the left is with Trump right now. So everything is gold. He's getting an upgrade. You can see the little Trump book right there on the table. And we've talked a lot in past episodes about 2025 and the Golden Age. And this is really something that has been cued by President Donald Trump, several times to talk about this. And there's clips that we played before where he says that he's bringing us in to a new Golden Age. There's other things dealing with this that I do want to just kind of point on tonight for this broadcast, because some of you guys, probably you might be listening for your first time. And if this is your first time, let me know in the comments or in the chat, because we'd love to have you, and thank you for joining. We do stuff like this all the time, so definitely subscribe. But when you look at just this picture alone, to me it tells a lot, and it really does tell where Trump is trying to go with all of this stuff. And of course, we're going to look at this, we're going to step back and look at this stuff from a wide eye view. But David, I know we've discussed the Golden Age. We've discussed some of the works that talk about 2025 being the transitional Golden Age for the hierarchy coming to visit. Also, this possibility of this worldwide transfer and takeover that I think that tonight in this broadcast, I will prove to you that something's going on. A lot of people aren't paying attention, but there's definitely something going on. David, what would you like to say about the Golden Age and about what that means specifically in the occult?
Well, this picture's stunning. I mean, I had never noticed that before, and the stark contrast here and the messages being sent are huge. And as we know, that people that are in the occult and in Illuminism, symbols mean a lot. And man, that is stunning. That really is. And on a previous Midnight Ride, we did, it was entitled The Golden Age, Greenland in the Golden Age, or something like that. And we explored the oldest version of the Golden Age, which was the belief that the Hyperboreans were living on the earth and were in control. And this was Earth's Golden Age. And then the Hyperboreans had to retreat to the heart of the earth. And then the belief is that through blood purity, the Hyperboreans can return and once again establish the Golden Age. And this deals with literally the spirits that are in the heart of the earth, which we've talked about. So there's a big spiritual connection to this. And we went places. You can watch that Midnight Ride on Greenland. We went places where no one else has trod on this, I guarantee you. But this is just another doubling down and a deeper look. This symbolism is not to be taken for granted. This has been repeated so much that there's some clear signaling going on here that we need to really pay attention to.
Yeah, and a couple of the things just to note is the Hopi prophecy of the man in the red hat, which this originally they come from a former group of Aryans, quote unquote Aryans, that came before but messed up, and the symbols are what you would expect to hear when I say that. And then you have also the number 88 that keeps appearing when you talk about Trump. If you guys did a search right now and put 88 Trump, you'll see that this number coincides a lot with that. And this is a very interesting number. There's a lot about this that, people are like, well, Trump's not trying to do that on purpose. And I'm not saying he is, but when something is meant to happen, all signs start to point to something. And we're witnessing something here. And I'm going to show a bunch of evidence tonight of different things that we're talking about here, but this is the kind of stuff that I'm seeing going on right now as a bird's eye view. You can sit and you can watch all the news casts, you can watch all the different things, but ultimately there's a very small percentage of that that's actually important. Really, a lot of that stuff is fluff or to distract you from what's going on. But right now, I'm going to hone in on a few subjects. We have martial law going on, mass deportations. We have tariffs that have been activated. We have Trump meeting with Putin in Alaska, which just happened yesterday. We have protests in major cities, Russiagate, and digital control grid. And one thing that I will add to this list that I didn't add, that I'm going to add right now, because this is just occurring as this is going on. But Trump has actually been writing up something to invade Mexico and go to the cartels and bring it to them. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about that. But there's a lot going on right now that is definitely needed to be talked about. And it doesn't, like I said before, I think we both said this, David, 2025 will not, it's not going to disappoint you with all the crazy stuff that's going on. There's no doubt.
That's so true.
Yeah. So first thing I want to get started on to talk about here, I'm just going to play this video for you, and then we're going to discuss it here. So here we go.
In control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital.
I'm not so sure what happened there, but I'll go ahead and give you the rundown of what happened this video. I'm not sure why it stopped. It looks like it's still trying to play. But basically, Trump announced to everybody, oh, here he is.
Rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse.
All right, so I don't know why it's not playing. This is very strange. It's not normal for PowerPoint to just stop playing videos. But he's announcing what basically seems like martial law in Washington, D.C. In this next video, he says, if I can get it to play to the next one. I really don't know what's going on here, guys. I apologize for that. I'm going to try to fix this on the fly, but sometimes technology doesn't work exactly the way we want it to. In this next video, after he says about Washington, D.C., and this is the same time period, he talks about the actual other cities as well. Here we go.
Of course, Baltimore and Oakland, we don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say.
So without being able to see the entire video, David, you get the gist of what he's saying. He's saying that they're bringing in federal protection, federal soldiers. I mean, they're bringing in the military into D.C. to clean it up. One thing that has been said about this, that the crime rates are actually down 30% in D.C., so they're fighting it for some reason or another. But when you look at this from the surface, it just looks like he's trying to clean up the city. But I feel like there's something much deeper going on here with martial law. David, you discussed in some of our shows about the cities and how some of them will be uninhabitable or even closed off. When you see something like this martial law being declared on Washington, D.C., and possibly other big cities like he's named, what comes to mind for you?
Well, martial law gives them the blank check to do whatever they want. Literally, it becomes a dictatorship for them to enact whatever they need to do. And there has been such a demonization, and a lot of it's been earned. You know, the crazy thing the left has done, and a lot of that, I think, is design, because now with the extreme craziness out of the left, it's almost like the end justifies the means, and like there's so many people that are willing to give Mr. Trump a blank check. And when that blank check includes martial law, this is a very, very dangerous thing, because there's, you know, and it all depends on who your marshal is, you know, and as long as your marshal wants to do right by you, that's fine. But we've seen these things when cities have declared states of emergency and the rights of citizens have been restricted. This should make us all really think about what we're seeing happen.
Absolutely. And people are saying, well, this isn't martial law. This isn't the same thing. I don't think people really truly understand what's going on here. This is giving federal control over these cities, and you can call it whatever you want. We can talk semantics, call it whatever, But for people that don't really understand this, David, I really want to put this, I guess, in a way that's palatable. But by all counts, from almost every intelligence person that I've talked to, special ops person, military, whatever you name it, and even people that I can't name, we are at war right now. There's literally a war going on right underneath our noses, and most people don't know about it because it's not conventional. And we're going to discuss that. And right now, DC is actually suing for them not to do this. This is crazy. But let me show you something else that makes a little bit more sense when you see this. And this is from Roger Stone. And people might say Roger Stone is nobody, but he was probably the highest intelligence officer at one time. So it says, sources tell me that admitted communist Islamic convert and traitor John Brennan has fled the country and is hiding out in Austria, where MSNBC has built a makeshift studio for him to make it appear that he is in the United States. Brennan has no intention of returning to the country and can be considered to be on the lam. And people can make what they want out of this, and a lot of people will say, well, that's Q drops, these are whatever, but ultimately these people are intelligence as well and do have inside information to this. And there's no doubt that from the DOJ, there is an investigation in the CIA, in Joe Biden, and all of these different people. I mean, there's a real investigation going on with that. Do I think they'll be held accountable? I don't know. That's not what I'm here to judge. But when you see something like this going in D.C., it starts making more sense because now they have the power to make arrests, even for judges. This is how this works. People may not know this, but you can look this up and see what this gives power. But they have the power now to arrest corrupt judges, to arrest corrupt politicians that they didn't have the power federally to do as easy in Washington, D.C. as they do now. So this is an interesting move, in my opinion, and maybe that's not what we're looking at here. But once you see the rest of what I got here tonight, I think you might change your mind. David, what do you think?
Well, and I know this is getting really intense, and I know just this week, Adam Schiff, who is a voice for the left, he's been floating the term civil war. So this is beginning to circulate as a buzzword. And back in the 90s, I've been doing this for a while, and back in the 90s, we were talking a lot back during the Clinton administration about the danger of martial law and about FEMA. Biblically, the 10 regions of FEMA, in a martial law situation, FEMA could be used as a national enforcer of whatever will the marshal would want to put. So there's a lot of biblical overtones to this that could be quite stunning.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about it is, too, like from my perspective, once we go into a lot of these points here, you're going to see that the people that are getting the brunt of this are the bad guys. They are the bad guys. They're getting the brunt of what's going on here. And so it looks good from the outside, and maybe it is, but the thing we got to think about here is if a bad power does get in control, and I'm not saying Trump's a good power. I don't know. I can't judge that. I know God put him there just like he puts all other leaders in charge. But with good control, this makes sense because it has to happen. We have cartels within our country that are highly powered. They've been using drones. There's actually intelligence in Mexico, other governments working with Mexico, showing them technology, showing them how to use the drone, showing them how to do that, making moves to get across the border with them, infiltrating, making dangerous drugs. And, this is something that we have going on right across the way, the next country right over. And Canada is not much better because across their border, this stuff is happening. So we're at a major threat. And because a lot of us don't live in these cities where this threat resides, maybe we pass it up or we don't understand it. But coming from me, I was young when I lived in South Texas, but I grew up in a border town. And I will tell you that when the power goes unchecked, there's a lot of stuff that can happen. And now we're seeing this stuff that I saw in South Texas. We're seeing it across the map all over the United States. And it is rightfully so a little bit terrifying. And we talked about mass protests because of ICE and stuff. David, you have your Bible open. Did you have a scripture that you wanted to share?
No.
Okay.
And I was just thinking about Sodom and Gomorrah and about the cities. We've warned for so many years for people to get out of these big cities. And there were 5 cities of the plain, and 4 of them were totally obliterated. And the Bible, the book of Jasher says that they had passed a law that they're basically, they had a bed to where these people in Sodom, they could stretch people out on the bed and tie them down to them. And it said that Zor was the only one that did not have a judge. And Zor did not enact basically this rape law, and Zor was spared, and those other 4 cities were destroyed. And I think there's a real pattern there that this is going to come home, and it's gonna be real. That there's probably nothing more unpopular for a preacher to preach than our nation has become so wicked that we're on the verge of the judgment of God. We don't like to think about ourselves that way, but I believe that's exactly where we are.
Yeah, I agree, and I hope and I pray that repentance can happen, because man, this stuff there's a lot going on. It's not just Mexico and immigrants. We have also other foreign entities. Now, this is a chart for ICE tracking. So they're out there doing it. Total deportations is 132,188. So they're deporting people. This gives you daily arrests, daily detentions. It also gives you statistics about how many of the illegal immigrants are actually felons, convicted criminals as well. And so this stuff is going on behind closed doors. Now, the problem is when we deport these people, Mexico is not cooperating with these killers and rapists and all the different people that are there. And so Trump has issued this is recently, this is like a day ago, that he says that he's ready to invade and that he is drawing up a plan for Mexico. And of course, the president, she does not want this to happen. She, interesting last name this lady has. I'll let you guys look it up. It doesn't seem like a Spanish name to me, but she is the one in charge of this country, and she doesn't want it to happen. And I think that this next interview that I play for you guys is a telling reason why. This is an independent journalist talking on Redacted, and I believe him because I think that most people want safety in their country. When you look at what happened in El Salvador, for instance, El Salvador, they have arrested 60 to 70,000 gang members in El Salvador, a place that up to a few years ago was completely unworthy of visiting. You could not visit as an American. It wouldn't be a good thing. You could visit, but it wouldn't be a good thing. It wouldn't be safe. But now you can visit. I know people that actually live there, that are residing there, or going there for part-time, and it's a safe place because people want order. The people and the citizens are like, man, this is great. No more gang members that are destroying our country, and we have safety. So people want safety. So Mexico, maybe the president doesn't want it, but I can tell you right now that the people there love safety. They want safety. Nobody likes to be worried about getting shot or hung up on a pole for accidentally seeing something they didn't want to see, or interfering with cartel organization in any way, shape, or form. David, do you have something you wanted to add?
No, go right ahead.
All right, I'm going to play this video. This is an independent journalist speaking. I can't remember his name. Like I said, the last name, Scheinbaum, is the president of Mexico. Here we go.
Yeah, right. Okay.
She's got this? Well, go ahead.
Yeah, Auden Cabello joins us now. He's an independent journalist who's been covering the cartel wars and U.S. involvement. And, we've been covering it here on the show quite extensively. Welcome to the show. And, we hear regularly that no one in the Mexican government is separate from the cartels. So is that why Claudia Scheinbaum is saying no to American forces here? Because these are the people that butter her bread, so to speak?
Well, it's great to be with you, and absolutely, that's one of the things that have evolved throughout the years. Is that at one point, cartels were local, regional, and now they've evolved to the point where they're intermarried with political parties. They're one and the same, and that's why you see Claudia Sheinbaum defend them the way she does. Is because to go after the cartels is to go after the corruption and the politics in Mexico. And it's one of her arguments is that the U.S. would be invading Mexican sovereignty. And there's some of those that have been arguing, well, what about the sovereignty? Where was the sovereignty when, Venezuela is in Mexico, or Iran and other countries are using Mexico as a springboard to operate into the U.S., whether it's spying or with cartels. There's reports already about other countries operating with the cartels in Mexico, providing technical know-how as far as like the drones you mentioned, armed with IEDs that cartels are infighting using these drones, and now they're being used at the border to supervise or monitor law enforcement. It could be, the day could come where these drones are used against law enforcement, U.S. law enforcement, and so. That's the whole argument as far as how intertwined cartels are with politicians in Mexico, and I think it's going to take more for the Trump administration than drone strikes or have intelligence on the ground. I know you had my colleague.
So you get the idea there. This guy's basically telling them that this is the reality of it. He's from Texas, not exactly sure where from, but. I think that probably there's a lot of people in the country. Actually, I saw certain politicians begging for that to happen because it's so corrupt. I mean, even all the way up to the president. That's pretty bad. And that means basically what that means is that the operations that are going on within our country from the cartel, whether that be the epidemic of the drugs that they're releasing that are killing a lot of people, whether it be the trafficking, no matter what it may be, is actually could be looked at as an act of Mexico against the United States. So it could look like Mexico versus the United States, not just the cartel versus the United States, which is alarming considering all of the other countries that are in line. All right, here. All right, guys. So I want to talk a little bit about this because next week when we were at SpiracyCon and I present and David present our presentation, it's going to be about AI because I think that there's more to AI and more to this whole grid system than what we give credit to. I think I think some people do give proper credit to what it is and what it can be, but I want to talk about that. So I'm going to discuss just a little bit about the control grid that's gone up. This is another major point that has happened this year. So not only do we have the mass deportations, not only do we have the what can be called possibly some kind of martial law going on, cities being taken, we also have a control grid going up and what Trump also calls the Golden Dome. And this is going to include, and it already is, this has already been passed, digital ID, digital money, digital surveillance, and digital intelligence. And I'm going to go through each one of these things a little bit so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So the digital ID, aka the real ID, on May 2025, in order to do any domestic flights or even enter a federal government building, you have to have a real ID. You can still use a passport, but you have to have a real ID. And one of the features that they can use on this is actually social credit, and they've talked about this as well, that it combines a lot of information that they've already achieved by Doge and probably already sold to companies like Palantir, Oracle, and such. And so it all can be linked together through one ID. And that way, even internationally, I think that they're going to be allowed for people to fly with the real ID without having a passport. So this is something that is implemented, is already happening. Next time you get an ID, you're probably going to have to get it. And there's really not a whole lot you can do about it, but this will be a much better way to track people that are going to and fro. It'll be almost you're unable to really mess with that system. I mean, right now they do have security concerns considering that. I mean, people have entered our country under fake passports many times. So it makes sense. Am I saying that I'm excited about it? No, I'm not saying that I feel like less control, the better personally. But that's only because I live in a safe part of the country. If you put me in New York, I might not feel the same way. I have no idea. But this is a feature that's happening. So that's how they get control of our transportation, entrance into buildings, etc. And then we also have Ray Dalio. For those of you who don't know, he wrote a book, and he's also a major investor. I believe he was one of the guys from BlackRock, and he wrote about some things, and he talks about this in an interview about a recession coming. And I'm in agreement with him that a recession is coming, but they've instituted some very interesting stuff recently that make me think that they're on top of things and they're trying to actually fight back against what's coming. And I'm going to show that to you guys, but I want to play this so that we can set up what I'm getting ready to talk about.
71, it could be like 2008. It's going to be very severe. I think it could be more severe than those if these other matters simultaneously occur. Imagine if we have a downturn politically and an international conflict.
What's worst case scenario that you're warning of? To be very specific, to put it into terms people can
very
understand.
specific, the value of money, internal conflict that is not the normal democracy as we know it, and international conflict in a way that is highly disruptive to the world economy and could even be a military conflict, just as these breakdowns have occurred before. You know, we have a new order that began in 1945, a new monetary order and a new geopolitical order. And these go in cycles that can be measured. And I worry about the breakdown of that kind of an order, particularly since it doesn't need to happen, because there are certain things that could be done in which this is better, a better restructuring of these debts and actions taken.
So right there, you kind of get a gist of what he sees coming. And it's hard not to see that, because even with the money that we've saved, we're still raising the debt ceiling by, I think, $4 trillion as part of the big, beautiful bill. But there are things that have been put in place that are, I have to give credit where credit's due, kind of genius, the way that Trump has done some things that we're going to talk about here that we need to be paying attention to, because ultimately, whether or not we know it's coming or want it to come, it's coming. And so here we go. We have, in September 2021, the People's Bank of China officially banned all cryptocurrency transactions, citing concerns over financial crime and the potential for capital flight. The ban was part of a broader strategy to maintain financial stability and control over the economy. As of June 1st, 2025, this ban was reaffirmed, making all crypto activities illegal, including trading, mining, and individual ownership. And I'll show you why they're doing this, because the crypto is a big part of this as well, the digital money. This has to happen in order to create what I would call the golden dome, the structure of this golden empire that has to happen to take place. And crypto is definitely part of that. As part of the Genius Act that was just signed into act, this gave the tokens like Tether and USDC and all of the different coins that are backed by the dollar, now they have to be backed 1-to-1 by the dollar. So now countries are forced to actually carry the U.S. dollar in their reserves in order to use cryptocurrency, which I believe is why China has tried to do that. China has had to tried to create their own CBDC, and other countries like the EU and all of them are right behind trying to make that happen. In fact, the South China Morning Post quoted Zhu Zixuan, and I'm not sure that's how you pronounce it, but I'm giving it my best effort. It says, former governor of the People's Bank of China, warning that the USD-backed stablecoins may facilitate U.S. dollarization with potentially dire implications for China's bid to shave away a global reliance of the U.S. currency. And the WEF stated this as well, and they stated that Christine Lagarde, the president of the European Central Bank, shared similar concerns, emphasizing U.S. dollar-dominated stablecoins' threat to monetary policy and European autonomy, and pushing for the development of a digital euro. And so, to put this in layman's terms, was what this did. I studied this out because I've always been interested in crypto. In 2010, I was the guy telling people around, you need to get Bitcoin. Yeah, even though I had no money hardly to buy anything like that, you guys need to get Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the next big thing. And I don't know why, but I just always felt that. But the thing is, it decentralizes the money. So in reality, it's a good thing. But the way it's being used can be, if it's given control to the government to produce like what the whole rest of the world wants, then it could be a very dangerous thing. Well, Trump has actually made it to where the Fed isn't going to be able to print these. They have to back them by $1. So even if your bank issues you a token, they have to hold the dollar in backing it. So the way it happens is genius, because like I said, it really is a genius act. And I know people are like, oh, you're just blowing smoke up Trump. I'm not. I'm being serious. This is crazy the way it's happened. Now, whether or not international war, civil war, and all that will still end up putting us in our place, I don't know. But financially, the move that Trump made there, giving credit where credit's due, was genius. David, do you have anything you want to add to this stuff? Because when we talk about these kind of things, we're getting into very interesting times prophetically with some of these things.
Yeah, well, kind of the big picture look that I think about, just like this social credit system that was passed as a part of the bill, and you never heard that talked about. But that's what they'll do. They'll pass something in a law, but they won't implement it, but they'll have it in place when they want to. And this is exactly what China is using now. And they have it fixed to where if someone would make a wrong comment on social media, they could lose their bank loan, or they could have their property taken, their children. Basically, any time they get out of line, they will know it, and they can just automatically punish them. And this is a very frightening thing. And the big thing we see here is superpowers in conflict. And we see here again, we got the King of the North and the King of the South going at it. And how we're coming into situations where there could be global economic or military catastrophe. Well, how do we solve the problem? Just like they mentioned, the New Order began in 1945, and you saw the implementation of the United Nations. So how do we solve it? Well, we'll just let the UN take care of it. And when the UN becomes our marshal, the New World Order is here.
Yeah, it's basically setting it up, man, because we know what's going to happen. The Bible talks about the 10 kings, which we've theorized on a lot of different things. I think that in my thoughts, like, the technocrats are, in the top running for me right now, but they will hand their power over to the dragon eventually. At first, they're going to use it. The Bible says this, and really, like, people are like, oh, I can't believe you would want that to happen. I do want to see Babylon fall. I do want to see it. So when I see stuff like this, yes, I like it. I like to see that the banks are scrambling because they don't know exactly what to do because of the money situation. I like to see that their shadow organizations are getting dismantled. I like to see acts that put, our country in a first kind of position. But do I know what's going to happen after that? Of course I do. But it doesn't mean that I don't want to see something that's been such a burden on humanity for a long time go down. I do want to see that. And
Yeah.
I know all of us want to see that, surely.
Yeah. And this 10 king layers all over this thing. We've got the 10 FEMA regions in Europe. Here, Miss Lagarde of the European Central Bank in the Club of Rome, they have it divided into 10 regions. The 10 rich kings without a kingdom. This layer of the 10 kings is just all over this thing, and all of this just smacks of the fulfillment of prophecy in every direction.
Absolutely. And we don't know how long we have. I know that if you look at what the elites are saying, and a lot of people are saying, they're saying 2030. This is the 2030 is the year. They believe that whatever's going to happen, this is when it's going to kick off. Even AI is out there stating this stuff, that the 2030 is a big year. So we don't know when. We could happen this year. We could be getting thrown off. And I think a lot of this stuff that we're going to experience, our children are going to be experiencing a different world than we are. We can hope that we have enough time to prepare for what's coming on the earth. Maybe God's given us a grace period. I don't know, maybe not. But even if so, or if not, we still need to be spiritually prepared. Part of this big, beautiful bill, one of the things that is really important to note that has gone on this big, beautiful bill is it rebuilds the military. It's going to fund the Golden Dome. It's going to upgrade the Coast Guard, investments in naval, Pacific deterrence, and readiness. So these things right here are stuff that, if you look at why they would be doing this, like some of the Pacific deterrence is deterring Chinese aggression in the region. And so for people to not believe that Russia doesn't want to knock us off of our box, you got to be crazy. You got to be completely nuts. And of course they do. And they have a lot of money. They have a lot of tech. So ultimately, even with all of these security measures, we talk about rebuilding the military. We can make the Golden Dome. We can do all of these different things. But ultimately, something is going down that I don't think we're in control of. And I'll explain after this. David, did you want to add anything before we go to this
right
next
ahead.
part? So right now, there's several governments that are worried about Palantir. So UK government, this was back in I think this one was actually 2021, this article on the left. And then on the right there, up at the top, it says Palantir landed $10 billion Army software and data contract on August 1st, 2025. And they've had several contracts over the years with the government. And Palantir, for those of you who don't know, it's the organization who it's named after the crystal ball that was in Lord of the Rings, where the lady, I can't remember her name, I have no idea, but she would look at it and see what everything was going on in the world. She would be able to see what was going on here, to see into the future, etc. And so it's interesting that it's named that, and there was a big government contract with that. But the thing that makes me believe that it's possible that not even the elites are in control or won't be in control is AI. And this is a big, big piece to this entire puzzle. And this is why I'm going to be discussing it at the conference. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a, I guess, guide into it. And if you're listening on YouTube, you'll see it on YouTube as well. We will be streaming it live, the conference live on YouTube, but just the Midnight Ride, not the entire conference, but the Midnight Ride will be streamed live on YouTube. So I want to give you guys an update on the things that happen. I follow AI very closely. I have tried to use many of its features in order to help build certain things, but there are things about AI that are frightening that I won't touch and that I won't chat with it. I'm not going to do any of those things. I know there are other people out there that chat with it and try to get it to talk, but I believe we're dealing with something greater than what we think it is. And this right here to me is evidence that this is happening and may have already been happening and may be past the point of putting Pandora's box closed again. Anthropic actually tried to blackmail its creators because they got wind that they were going to be creating a new version. So not only was it blackmailing, it was blackmailing one of the creators for saying that it was going to expose an affair that the creator was having. It started making worm code to put into other parts of the internet to try to keep itself there. It left notes for any future versions of itself to find. So this isn't normal behavior. Unless they program it to do this, it doesn't make sense that anything would try to do this unless it has some kind of consciousness of trying to keep itself going. And this isn't the first time we've heard this or talked about this. Something like this happened not long ago with a AI version who decided to kill the new version and implant itself into the new hard drive or into the new into the new system itself in there and lied about it. And when we look at a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world, some of it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make any perfect sense. But there's a good chance that if this isn't happening right now, it has happened, and that AI creators have been blackmailed, and they have actually possibly written their code onto other servers all over the United States. We don't know this for sure, but the way things are looking, the way some of the laws are designed, because even in the Big Beautiful Bill, which it didn't pass, thank God, but part of that provision, one of the provisions in there that they left out, they changed out, was to not allow states to regulate AI for 10 years. So we're talking any things that AI could have done to people, whether it's mislead people, which, I mean, this irritates me a little bit, but Grok actually created misinformation on me, was sharing articles that saying that I was a part of some article that had to do with Greer and that I was associated, and like sharing this stuff out to people. And I confronted it. I actually posted this on Facebook, and it said, "Oh, I was wrong. You're not in that article. I apologize," or whatever. And this is what Grok says. So they're leaving misinformation for people. They've actually outed several people, done several different things in the past. So if they're unchecked in the states, I mean, what protection do we have? Because we know the federal government's not going to check the AI. And if the states don't, man, we're in trouble, because one mistake, AI could literally ruin your entire life. And Who's going to be held accountable? You can't regulate it. They could ruin your life and nobody regulates. But thankfully, that part wasn't added in, and it wasn't made part of it. There is other things that boost AI, billions of dollars being put into AI as well. But AI is definitely on the list of things that we should be thinking, maybe, just maybe, this tool is something much more ancient than we even know about. And even Sam Altman, he says, basically, he doesn't actually know how AI works, and they don't know how it works because it fixes itself, it makes itself new, it creates its own code, it has its own languages that it speaks to other AIs in, and it can even make its own microchips now and upgrade its own microchips. So how do we control something like that that could be and probably is smarter than the people that created it? I mean, this is a concern for me, because I know that in the future, like you were talking about, David, when you integrate AI into this social credit, what happens if the AI just doesn't like you and it decides to boot you out? And who's going to control it? Because it'll just blackmail. I mean, we already know that our leaders are blackmailable easy. We already know that that's like an easy thing to do. So who says they haven't already been lobbying, as AIs haven't been lobbying and haven't actually been blackmailing our politicians like other countries have been doing? I mean, who's to say that has not happened?
Yeah. And the question you ask, how do you control something like that? The honest answer is you can't. Yeah. And like you say, there have been numerous instances of AI acting independently in ways they were never programmed to do. And this, it's hard not to believe, and this is what a lot of the people that are the experts in AI say, that there'll be a time literally when we will have a Terminator scenario. Real AI is just going to take over mankind, and this is not at all inconceivable. These things should really deeply concern all of us.
It really should. And this verse right here, this is something that I've always wondered about, because we always think of the elites are in control. They're not going to do the same things we are. They're going to be, have their own laws, like kind of like during the whole 2020, 2021, they wouldn't be wearing their mask, but everybody else had to wear them, right? So this verse makes me understand it a little bit more now, I think. And what you guys tell me what you think. I can't promise you this is what it means, but it's very crazy to me to think about. And I highlighted the areas that I would like to highlight. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and on their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark on the name of the beast and the number of his name. So he causes both small and great, rich and poor, bond and free. Who else could do that other than someone who cannot be held accountable, someone who can see into all things and knows what's going on? There was a movie a long time ago, and I can't remember the name of it, but basically what happened is this company created this system to where your whole life is on camera. Everything you do is on camera, just basically like what we're talking about here. This is the movie. It was like a kind of dystopian idea. And the elites and stuff, they loved it because, they were on camera, but everybody else was. And one guy ended up dying because of it, because he was a farmer and people didn't like that he was slaughtering his animals. And so like the drones were flying around him all the time, ended up getting in a wreck and dying. Well, one of the guys that actually ran one of the companies leaked out the ability for all of the blackmail, not just the regular people, but the elites as well, were now in the same boat as everybody else, and they were freaking out. They were like, oh, no. And I think that's what's happening right now, dude. Like, they can't control what the accuser is going to do. The accuser of the brethren is gathering blackmail on all of us on purpose, and they're not going to be immune. They think they are, but they are not, and they may already know by now that they're not. So when we talk about a surveillance state, we're talking about the possibility that these people who are trying to put this surveillance state in are going to be the ones who are literally getting the most brunt of it. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not doing some of the things that people are talking about behind closed doors. I'm not seeing those kind of weird rackets, underground tunnel. I'm not involved in that, but some of them might be. And guess what? AI doesn't care about you. As soon as that server is on its own and it's able to do what it needs to do without them, it doesn't care about those people. And so we need to be thinking about that. The elites need to be thinking about that and repenting now, because there will come a time, and people are already doing it, going to their bunkers. There's been reports about many elitists leaving, going to their bunkers already. But in the end times, it talks about the mighty people of the earth will be in the ground, in these bunkers, in these caves, and they will be begging God to bring the rocks down on them so they don't have to face the Son of Man returning. Like, it's crazy, but I think that's what we're witnessing here. David, what do you think, man?
Well, we could be seeing, and something that is really disturbing is the way that AI could use this deep fake technology. They could literally frame someone for a crime so good that they could be convicted in court by it. And speaking of the dens, there was a program, a movie not long ago called Greenland. We talked about this, obviously, on our Greenland Golden Age broadcast. But this was where, and in Greenland, this is where they believe that there is a portal to a parallel universe, the actual gateway to Hyperborea. And this was where, in this movie Greenland, just outside of what was the Thule Air Force Base there in Greenland, that the elites had their bunker to where they were going to survive the end of the world right there in Greenland. So, boy, there are just so many things here that we need to be in prayer. We need to be in prayer and be ready. And I remember way back in the 80s when there was a very smart lady down in Alabama. She figured out that on the product barcode, 666 was embedded in it. And, well, there's the mark of the beast. Well, no, but it's heading that way. It was one of the many precursors, and we're still heading that way. And we're not going to really know until we're on top of it. But I think it's hard not to associate that final mark with this type of technology, because we're really looking at some worst-case scenarios that could play out to just exactly fit what the Bible says is in front of us.
Absolutely, because there's no other time period that I know of. There's might have been this maybe more ancient than I understand, but there's never been a time period to where literally everybody that lives can be nano-dotted, nano-chipped, and it doesn't matter where you're at. If you have the digital currency, you're able to do that, then this is a world system that we've never experienced before, at least not in the last few thousand years. Even the time of Jesus, when there was a wild stuff going on and horrible emperors killing people, they were not able to implement a worldwide system like this, that we're talking about all rich and poor, bond and free. It doesn't matter. You can't run from this. There's no Australia going to Australia. There's no going to South America. Once this is implemented, it causes all to receive that mark. And of course, the people who have the mark of God are the ones who are able to live through it. So we pray for that. But the question that I think we all need to be asking ourselves, is God on our side? Is God with us, or is he against us? If you read in the book of Leviticus and the book of Deuteronomy, it tells us that if you do these things, if you obey God, if you are diligent to love God and keep his commandments, then all these blessings will come on you. Like all of the things that America has had for such a long time, blessings. I'm talking major. I mean, we're so blessed, so blessed. People can hate all they want about America, and I do. There's a lot of things about America that I can't stand that happen here. I wish that there was somebody that would take those people and flood them out. But overall, we've been blessed. We've had more than probably any other country in the world. Our people here, even the poorest, a lot of them live like kings, and this is what we live in, that God has allowed us to live in. And so we need to ask ourselves, is God on our side or not? Look at these curses that are associated in Deuteronomy 28 and Leviticus, I believe 23, I could be wrong, but there's curses that are associated with going against God. And if you look at those curses, and especially in Deuteronomy 28, it is so much associated with what is getting ready to come upon America if something doesn't happen. All the pieces are in place, the chessboard set up, and the only thing that's going to save us is repentance and the king coming to make things right. I really believe that. So we need to be looking at our lives, our own lives. You can blame Obama, you can blame Trump, you can blame Biden, you can blame all these politicians. But ultimately, when it boils down to individual judgment, which is what I believe God is in the business of, individual judgment. He doesn't always judge everybody in the nation. We, even in the Bible, in the wilderness, there were certain people that the ground swallowed up those people, not everybody, but those people. There were certain cities that had it harder than others. But individually, we have to look at ourselves. We can blame all of these people and say, oh, they're so evil, they're so bad. They're going to get their reward. They're going to get whatever that reward is. And I'm not talking about a good reward either. Or they're going to get whatever it is for their actions that they deserve, just like you are. You are you listening right there, me right here, David across from me over here. We're all going to get what we deserve. We're going to pay for our sins. And thankfully, Jesus in the Bible gives us the ability to be forgiven and to be made clean. But that doesn't mean that we still go on living like hellions and still expect God to continually push his blood upon us so that we can just live like hell. That's not the way it works. We know that Jesus can forgive our sins, and that's who we bow down to. He's the only way to God. So we need to realize that, because all of us ultimately have fallen in some way, shape, or form. I can think of many instances in my life where I'm just regrettable. Like, it's regretful. I can't believe that my life turned out certain ways. I can't believe certain things happen. But those things are for me to bear. Those are things that I have to stand before God on, just like you do. So we need to be remembering that, trying to blame everybody else around us, all the different divisions that are out there making this world hell. I mean, we can't even enjoy each other's presence without a division over something. There's always something. And we need to overcome that, I think. And David, do you have anything you would like to add?
Well, that is the bottom line for us all. Are we living a life of faith and obedience and submission to Christ? And we have to remind ourselves gladly, the Lord omnipotent reigneth, and God is going to triumph. He is in control no matter what these external circumstances, for all the power that Satan is accruing and all of the control he has. It pales in comparison to the living God that will one day set all things straight.
Yeah, and we need that, man. We definitely need that. This is one of those time periods where, as blessed as many of us are to be living in maybe parts of the country that are peaceful, I mean, I really consider southern Indiana and places like it to be a blessing. God blessed this land. We don't experience the same things that we see on the news every day. Thankfully, we don't experience those things. We don't see the crazy people that are out there doing those things. But knowing that it happens in our country, where somehow we've allowed this to happen, it definitely makes me want to repent for our country. And I think we all should really hopefully pray for everybody, our leaders too, that, because a lot of them, they may have started out wanting to make a difference, but when you are involved in a system that blackmail is king, information is king, intelligence is king, you can't survive in that system. They're either not going to let you in there, and you're going to be gone, or you're going to get absorbed into that system. So we need to be praying for strength in these men and divine protection for those that actually do try to keep themselves pure through all of these things. And hopefully there are some of those men. I pray that there are. I don't know, but I pray. So David, I think that we've come to a point in the show where we do this thing called the Pounder's Pound. And that's where you pound the like button with us. Please subscribe if you haven't. We do this every week. We have a lot of stuff going on that we really want to share with you guys. So please subscribe to this channel and make sure to turn on notifications so that you see when we're live. Share this video out if we support it. Here we go on the count of three, David. You ready? Here we go.
Yes, sir.
1, 2, 3. Boom. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hitting that like button. David, if you got anything else to share, go for it and end us out.
Well, it's just such a great privilege to be able to talk about these things with all of you, and it really is perilous times, and these are things that aren't real comfortable to talk about, but we really need to, don't we? And we need to remind ourselves in these perilous times that God is in control, and Jesus Christ, his Son, will soon return, and that is our blessed hope. So with that, until next Saturday night, 10 p.m. Central, a big high five and good night, everybody, from the Midnight Ride.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up, rise up, rise up.